Teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
I'm Mark Dolan and we have blown the budget on headlines tonight with Nick Dixon and Josh Howie. You get what you pay for, don't you, is all I'm saying. Big stories, big opinions and big laughs. But first, the headlines with Miranda.
Thank you. The top stories from the GB newsroom. Russian soldiers are being accused of deliberately planting landmines in the north of the country as they withdraw. That's according to the Ukrainian president. Earlier, Boris Johnson spoke to Volodymyr Zelensky and congratulated what he called the country's brave armed forces for pushing back Russian troops. Downing Street said both leaders agreed on the importance of continuing sanctions on Russia to increase economic pressure. It follows an official from President Zelensky's office saying Ukrainian troops have retaken more than 30 towns or villages across the Kiev region.
They are mining houses, mining equipment, even the bodies of people who were killed. There are a lot of tripwires, a lot of other dangers. We are moving forward, we are moving carefully, and everyone who returns to this territory must also be very careful.
Well, meanwhile, the Red Cross say operations to get civilians out of Mariupol are currently ongoing, but the situation on the ground remains volatile. This comes as a Russian news agency says aid convoys have not been able to reach the besieged city, a claim which hasn't been independently verified. Meanwhile, buses of refugees have been arriving in Zaporizhia, with some enduring a 12-hour journey having to stand as huge numbers of people try to escape.
We'll come home, for sure, because this is home. I hope there will be a roof over our head.
Everyone is trying to help each other, and now everyone is very united, really. And all this support and unity is very, very much felt here.
The situation in the village is even worse than in Kiev, so we just moved from place to place and then decided that it would be safer to go abroad.
Rescue teams are searching for a plane that has gone missing over the English Channel. The light aircraft took off from Warwickshire this morning, carrying 2 people, and was bound for Le Touquet in the north of France. The MP for Somerton and Frome, David Warburton, has had the Tory whip withdrawn. This is pending an inquiry into allegations about his conduct by the Parliament's Independent Complaints and Grievance Scheme. He's reported to deny any wrongdoing. The French president has warned of the risk of a Brexit-style upset ahead of the forthcoming elections in France. As the gap narrows between him and far-right leader Marine Le Pen, Emmanuel Macron has referenced the Brexit referendum, warning voters that what looked improbable actually happened. Nothing is impossible. The first round of the presidential election takes place next Sunday. And it's 40 years since Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands. 255 British soldiers died, along with 650 Argentinians in the conflict, after Margaret Thatcher ordered the territory to be recaptured. Boris Johnson has paid tribute to those who served, saying our commitment to them is as steadfast as it was in 1982. Well, on TV, online and DAB plus radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to headliners.
My thanks to the brilliant Miranda Shunker, who is the only person that can be taken seriously in the next 60 minutes. You're watching Headliners, a first look at Sunday's papers in the company of two of Britain's finest comedians. Tonight, the most medicated double act since SmithKline Beecham. Do not operate heavy machinery when these two are in action. I'm talking about the effervescent, pain-killing Josh Howie and someone that will settle any tummy, Nick Dixon. Gentlemen, I'm furious about the weather. What's going on? Josh Howie, can we do something about it? And who's to blame?
Well, the Tory government, obviously.
I've got one of those super colds.
Brexit.
Apparently there's a super cold, but it's not quite COVID.
Okay.
There's like sort of second division below COVID. Yeah. So it's annoying because I feel rubbish. I've got a blocked nose, but I'm not ill enough to stay at home.
And you're not getting the sympathy.
And you've not told us. We're sat quite near to you. That's what's bothering me.
Yeah, well, and you're a famous hypochondriac,
well,
of
yeah.
course.
And by the way, the weather is just the HARP weather systems. It's all controlled by the government.
That's what I was told, actually. And on that conspiratorial note, here are tomorrow's front pages. And let's start with the Sunday Telegraph. PM's plan for 7 nuclear stations. New development vehicle will slash planning red tape to increase Britain's energy self-reliance. What's not to like? Russians, meanwhile, are booby-trapping corpses and homes as that awful war takes an even darker hue. The Independent next. Refugees welcome. Ministers urged to axe needless bureaucracy. The Observer. Tories fear poll disaster over high taxes. And Russians used children as human shields near Kyiv. The Sunday Mirror now. Tory U-turn after outcry. Hypocrite Raab failed to stop baby P mum's release. The Sunday Times now. Bodies of mutilated children among the horrors the Russians left behind. A difficult headline to read out, let alone process. Tory MP suspended after sex and cocaine claims. I'll be discussing that with my comedian guests shortly. Sunday Express sees back stolen billions to cut tax. With £37 billion lost to the pandemic's theme park for fraudsters, calls grow to take the money back and ease the cost of living crisis. Good luck with that one. And the Daily Star Sunday, crime exclusive. Swipe right for a monster. Baby P's mum is on a dating app. And those are your front pages. And we lead with the Observer, and the cost of living seemingly includes political costs, Josh.
Yeah, so the Tories are scared. They're scared. They're afraid of what's going to happen in the May elections. And they're obviously getting some feedback that they are not universally loved. And certainly nothing like the election result they got in 2019. And a lot of it's to do with high taxes. Yeah. So a lot of Tories, senior Tories, are panicking. And they're basically complaining to Rishi Sunak for putting up taxes. It's kind of amazing. Like, I think we're the only G7 country to be putting up taxes at the moment, at this time when things are so tough for so many people and getting it tougher. It is kind of amazing what he's doing. And he's like sort of going, oh yeah, we're going to change the tax rate to 19p instead of 20p in 2024. People don't need help in 2024. They need help now.
Yeah, do you think actually that the Partygate scandal has been oversold in terms of the political damage, and that we can once again invoke the famous catchphrase of Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid?
Yeah, that's always what people are going to care about.
Pound in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to look at their bank accounts, they're going to see the bills going up, and people are scared. But that's not to say I think that Partygate has gone away, and I think it is going to it's going to be one of those things that's just going to keep on coming back and hurting.
Well, the problem with Partygate is that it's unquantifiable, that the Prime Minister doesn't know what's still being, withheld and to be released at some point. It's like a sword of Damocles hanging over the Prime Minister, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like a pebble in the sandals or whatever. But it's
thorn in the side.
We can use many analogies here.
A bad rash,
all of that's going to be spread through his body. Yes, it's going to turn into
political eczema.
It's bad. It's not good for
Mark, you're supposed to fill time at the end of the show.
yeah. We've got 20 stories we're going to get through.
Is it time for an ad break so soon? Nick, what do you think about this? Are we overstating the threat to the government from the economic situation?
Well, there's a sort of tax war within the Tory party, and I know this because I researched this for your show a couple of months ago, then you didn't ask me about it, so I'm so glad I've got a chance to talk about
that homework.
Because Sunak, so to be fair to Sunak, right, he's really against debt for the next generation. So he believes in taxes and cuts because he doesn't want to burden the next generation with debt, whereas someone like IDS wants lower taxes to stimulate growth. So this is the argument. And Truss, I believe, or last I heard, was very against the national insurance increase, whereas Rishi wants it. And the critique of the Red Wall is that they're sort of like the SDP. They want higher spending than Tories typically want, but the critique is they also want lower taxes magically. So that's the kind of tax war within the Tories. Yeah, of course it'll affect them at the polls, but they've got to go with one way or the other. Sunak presumably is going to win because he's the Chancellor.
Yes, it does look like it, and I don't think the Prime Minister could handle a resignation from number 11 at this point. The Sunday Times are leading with yet another tale of woe for the Conservative Party, this time a sleaze expose. Nick?
Yeah, Tory sleaze, that's weird, isn't it? It's Tory MP David Warburton suspended after sex and drugs allegations. You might remember him because he lost a lot of weight during lockdown, and there was this great picture of him saying, hey, look at all this weight I've lost. So that was great, but then unfortunately that's led to a kind of new lifestyle for him where he's got a bit carried away because he's been involved in cocaine. So he got someone to order cocaine and they complained that £160 was a lot. He said it was actually quite good value. And then there was a sexual harassment claim with this person. I can't remember who the woman was, but perhaps Josh could tell me, but he ended up...
I'll just make it up.
He ended up... Because the fun part is... She got into her pyjamas, was the key part to try and get rid of him. This is the allegation. But she came out and he was suddenly naked, and he claimed that he always slept nude, that it wasn't a big deal. Then he got into bed with her, which is when she said he sexually harassed her. That's when it got a bit weird. And and he WhatsApped her the next day saying, I promise I won't remove all my clothes again. We've all had those WhatsApps, Mark, from you, but
I've actually got that as the default text message if I'm driving. Yeah.
You sleep nude?
Yeah, just apologies, I was naked.
It works. I'm using WhatsApp.
It works for so much of my correspondence. It's a good cover for your behaviour. But again, this is not a good look.
It's like the 80s all over again.
Yeah, it is. It's an old-fashioned political scandal, isn't it?
It's good old Tories and cocaine and sexual miscreants and
it's missing though an S&M dungeon.
Yes,
don't you think?
we need that. But they, and one of their other MPs was this week finally. He dropped Charlie Elphicke. He dropped his claim against the Sunday Times because he was trying to conceal his being a rapist, and that's all sort of gone through now. So we can say that as sexually assaulting 2 women. So Tory MPs are not doing particularly great at the moment. But I didn't know this. So he said, like you said, it was £160 for 2 grams, and he said it was spenny. I'd never heard of that before. Have you heard of the term spenny?
No.
What, is this a nickname for cocaine?
No, well, it's meant to be that means it's quite good. I don't know if that's a posh thing or a
spenny,
street...
No, that's
spenny means it's good.
That means it's expensive.
Oh, spenny. So is this a street thing or is this a posh thing?
Well, I don't know because my 16-year-old son has told me. My 16-year-old son has told me that sick is a good thing.
Okay,
it's a bit ironic after the pandemic.
I'm familiar with sick.
Yeah.
I'm
a really big fan of yours, both of you, so I would imagine you're seriously ill, is what you would say on the street, or dying.
Yeah, not as ill as you, mate, but...
Well, I try. There you go. Well, on that youthful note, let's move on to gridlock at Dover. This from The Observer, Josh.
Yeah, unfortunately, this isn't really anything to do with Brexit. I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be like, come on, you Brexit, but this is what happens. But actually, no, this is a bunch of factors coming in together. One of them being the PO, and this is reported in The Guardian. But you remember the big motorway, all the lorries queuing up for miles and miles.
Yeah.
It's happening again. but it's a few factors. One of them being P&O ferries. So they fired all the people. Now they're trying to hire those people, but those people aren't passing the security checks. So this is obviously the worst.
Are they trying to hire back the people they fired?
No, they're not. They're trying to get people for like £3 an hour instead of like actual decent living.
Are you available or?
I already get £4 an hour here, so it's totally fine.
Whereas Nick's thinking, well, never say never.
Yeah.
Showbiz is a rough business.
I'm only on 350, so I'm weighing it up.
Yeah, school holidays have just started.
I can see you in a white suit, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Love Island style.
Well, isn't that what the sailors wear? Don't the staff?
I know, you know a lot more about sailors than we do, Mark.
Just
what happened to your white suit, Mike? You used to wear it when you were doing comedy.
Yeah, apparently it was very aging. Yeah, apparently I look like a poor man's John Travolta.
How dare they?
So I quickly got rid of that one. Yeah. Have you ever entertained on the cruise ships, either of you?
I have.
My act's not quite a cruise ship kind of act. It's like a sort of meta, self-deprecating commentary. Your act probably is more suitable.
Yeah, end of pier. Very sort of stereotypical
I did a golf club last night.
Wife jokes.
Golf club last night. It was very spenny.
I bet it was. I bet it was. And you were worth every penny of that spenny fee. Brilliant stuff. Well, The Observer again, and autistic children are being let down by the health system, Nick.
Yeah, autistic children wait up to 5 years for an NHS appointment, although according to them it's 5.36 years. But sorry, that's terrible.
It had to be done.
It's an autism joke, and it kind of.
I was going to ask how long you've been waiting, but
I could see that coming. Yeah. And also, 1,250 children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder have had to wait an average of 46 weeks, but apparently they're totally chilled about it. And 195 weeks in the worst case. But obviously, we're having harmless fun at the expense of children with mental disorders. But it's a very serious story. The NHS, let's face it, we said last night on your show, the NHS is pretty broken, isn't it? More and more people are talking about these massive waiting lists. We don't want to admit it, but it's a huge problem. But we've got children waiting up to 5 years in some cases. The average for kids with autism was something like
6 months, I think.
Yeah, 88 weeks. I mean,
and that makes a big difference for people to get that diagnosis, because you need the diagnosis to start getting the help, and that help does make a difference. But this has been a problem for nearly probably a decade now, where it's the mental health element of the NHS, which is massively underfunded, and that stuff then bleeds into the other parts of the health service. And I can't believe this is still going on. They know that they've had this problem. They've had it for years, and obviously it's only going to be worse after COVID, after people being locked away for a couple of years.
I'm not sure if you can even realistically expect the NHS to deal with mental health. You know what I mean? That's why I say we need to rethink the system. Can you? Obviously, we need NHS for emergencies. We need it for big operations things. Can you really expect them to provide good enough?
No, they
mental
do.
health
But what they need to do is to integrate it so it's a proper system. The mind, the body, they work together. You need those things.
And that should tie in with education and schools as well.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of these youngsters require special support in an educational setting. Yeah, good stuff. Well, look, let's crack on. That's a tough story, but here's another one. And it's from the Sunday Times, and I struggle to accept the allegations in this one. China have been meddling in geopolitical situations they potentially stand to benefit from. Say it isn't so, Nick.
Yep, China accused of hacking Ukraine days before Russian invasion. So there was already this rumour, wasn't there, that Russia had waited till after the Olympics to invade. There was a rumour that they were colluding on that. And now the rumour is that China staged a huge cyber attack on Ukraine's military, more than 600 websites belonging to the Defence Ministry in Kiev. And, of course, it's Ukraine saying this. It's according to their security service. But that's the claim. And Russia also tried to do an attack, but apparently you can tell the difference between China and Russia due to trademark tools. So, quite a scary idea that we've encouraged, not encouraged, but that China and Russia are ending up allies now, which is like the last thing you want, isn't it? Nixon warned about all this, that people accuse you of being a Putin apologist, but if we didn't work properly with Russia following the collapse of the USSR, that this kind of thing would happen. And that's what we've got now. We've got China and Russia colluding, according to this story.
Yeah, that's obviously concerning. There's an axis of evil, if ever I saw one. Back to politics, Josh, and trouble for the Labour Party in the Mail on Sunday.
So it's funny. So this is like a very misleading headline. Strange that in the Mail on Sunday. The headline: two.
It's a great paper, and I'm holding out for a column.
Okay, you'll get it, mate. You'll get it. I believe in you. Two pro-Corbyn. Sorry, I can never say the word Corbyn. Labour staffers.
You don't like
it? Strangely, no. Claim
like
they were
a bucket.
gagged.
Can we provide you with a bucket to spit in every time you say his name?
They claim they were forced to quit under Keir Starmer after submitting sexual harassment claims against a senior party official. Now, this all happened before Keir Starmer became, I'm not going to do a big loving about Keir Starmer. This all happened under Jeremy Corbyn, under Jenny Formby, who was General Secretary. And essentially, it's such a sort of misleading thing to try and bring him into it. They quit. They basically were going to get fired, essentially, but they quit in the first months of his leadership as he got rid of all of the trots who had sort of invaded Labour. Laura Murray is the daughter of Andy Murray, who is like this multi-millionaire aristocrat, member of the Communist Party for 40 years before joining Labour because of Corbyn. And I mean, some people may have heard of Laura Murray before because she was actually made head of complaint in the whole of the middle of the anti-Semitism crisis in Labour. She was made head of the complaints process whilst absolutely defending Corbyn from everything like this and putting out tweets herself, so much so that she got sued by Rachel Riley, and Rachel Riley won £10,000 from her for libel because Laura Murray called her dangerous, and Rachel Riley was defending. Was basically fighting anti-Semites. So for Laura Murray to go and attack Rachel Riley, who's a great human being who's been fighting these anti-Semites.
And very, very good at maths.
And very good at maths.
My favourite thing about her is the maths, not her looks.
That's such a virtue signal. Mark, it's only been the last 5 years of my life fighting this stuff, but if you want to go in...
but when I watch Countdown, everyone's so focused on the dresses and and I'm like, how did she do that?
I'm trying to destroy...
Arithmetic. No, listen, I mean, this is a time when the Labour Party were reluctant to follow an internationally accepted definition of what anti-Semitism
was. And they broke the law. They broke the Equality and Human Rights Act. So they broke the equality law. She was part of that part of Labour at the time.
And Rachel Riley, who's good at maths, took absolute pelters for being so principled.
God, the abuse that she got was absolutely insane. She's a proper hero. Yeah. So what they're saying, just before Corbyn left power, the Labour Party, they commissioned their own internal report, basically, which was this kind of whitewash report that supposedly Laura Murray and this other, and Georgie Robertson were involved in compiling. They leaked it, like they said, basically they were like, we're going to put it out, and the lawyers looked at it and went, no, you can't do that because we're going to get sued, and this stuff is basically all just lies. Yeah. And so they leaked it. There's people are saying maybe these two were part of the people who leaked it. Like, that's not confirmed, but it came out, and now Labour might go bankrupt. Exactly what the lawyers said, don't do it, because they didn't redact any names, so all these names are, like, out there. The whole thing's right. So when they say here, this thing that they were gagged, part of that policy was, like, if you sign this document, if you are found guilty to have leaked this document, you personally are held liable for any of this people, like the Labour being sued. So, of course, they're not going to sign that because they would, even though Laura Murray's family probably got the money to be able to pay that, they don't want to be liable for it. So that is also part of the reason why they didn't sell. That's not to say if something happened to them, but I mean, what the complaint was that someone was overbearing and possessive and pressured them for drinks and made inappropriate comments. Of course, that stuff needs to be looked to. But I got to say, people like the Socialist Workers' Party and stuff have been terrible in the past when it comes to their treatment of women and covering up rape and whatever. The far left are disgusting, and their attitude towards women even more so. There
was a perception that Corbyn's Labour Party, if not Corbyn himself, but those around him, was toxic at best.
Absolutely, and this is the stuff that was going on there, and supposedly for the kind people, why is this happening under Corbyn's leadership?
Did Labour get its house in order in relation to anti-Semitism? Have those ghosts been, dispelled or not?
The genie's out of the bottle. I think Keir Starmer's done a lot. It's been
he actually cares. He actually seems to care.
I think absolutely, and I think he wants to get into power to make this country better, and I think he can.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Whatever. That's what I think.
He's got good hair.
He's got good hair. I'll follow anyone with
He's not good at maths like Rachel Riley.
No, but then...
That's my takeaway with Rachel Riley. It's the arithmetic.
He's obsessed about this maths thing.
It's good that we're...
I bet she can do
takeaway. But what he'll do is he'll increase the budget for the school system to make people good at maths, so Rachel Riley won't have to be solely doing...
How about Rachel Riley for Chancellor? She'd be more Instagram-friendly than Rishi Sunak, wouldn't she? Just think of the photo ops.
I'm sensing a Daily Mail column for you.
So. I'm just picturing a picture of Rachel Riley filling a red Kia outside of Sainsbury's.
Oh my God.
I'm just glad we've covered some Labour sleaze, because normally it's the Tories, but it's good to see Labour levelling up.
Well, it's Labour. The point
Levelling
is,
up.
it's old Labour sleaze. This is Labour sleaze under Corbyn, under Jenny Formby, and it's ridiculous for them to try and tie it to Keir Starmer.
She's still Jenny for the block.
From the block.
Let's pretend that works.
Yeah.
What we'll do, we'll workshop it during the break and,
Okay.
and we'll make it better for part 3. That's it for the first part of the show. Wonderful to have your company. We've got lots more to come, though. We always do the rubbish bit at the beginning, as you'll have noticed. Lots to come, including puppies, indoor barbecues, and I'll be attempting to tease out a philosophical discussion between these two towering intellects on the nature of art and the artist. Wish me luck. See you shortly.
I'm actually ready for that bit. Good.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering.
As their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
Move back from the edge of your seat. The wait is over. We have returned. It's Headliners. I'm Mark Dolan. And with me looking at tomorrow's papers, to my left is Josh Howie, and even further left is Nick Dixon. Or is it the other way around? More developments from the greatest night of television history. Josh, the Oscars, the slap. Tell
Yes,
me more.
the slap that's running around the world, everyone says. Yes, this is the Sun, but I'm sure it's now the newspapers. Well, Will Smith has resigned from the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts after the slap. This is, I think it's now, like it says here, the Sun, that they said that he's in a 2-week bid to save his career. I don't know where anyone came up with this he has 2 weeks to save his career. It's trying to sort of put this time period on it. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing that happened because I think it's that I don't think he even realised how bad it was because, you know, he's standing up in front of his colleagues. They're all clapping him and celebrating him. And that would have been the moment. I think if at that time, if he'd gone up for that award and he'd said, you know what, half an hour ago, I really messed up. I'm really sorry. I've got some issues from my past and that would have been the time to do it.
Correct. Doing
Doing it now that I think that like it sort of seemed like it was a joke and it was fun. And I think as time has gone on, the severity of the crime has somehow become more established. Like, you're like, wait a minute, this is some guy was doing his job, just working. It was a joke. He didn't necessarily know whether he had a piece or not. You look at the photos of her, she's got this is baldness, what is going on here. She had like a tiny line of missing hair that she then shaved her
she
whole
looks
head off.
like bloody David Hasselhoff compared to you.
Thank you so much. That's what a, yeah.
You know,
So
I'm trying to think of a celebrity with a lot of hair. The best I had was the Hoff.
the Hoff, he came
That's
straight
all I could
twice.
get.
That was
Yeah.
a-
You know what?
She spent teenage youth for you there.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think of other characters, but look,
American Werewolf. There's loads you could have said. Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that of
Weird.
course, that could be problematic.
Sideshow.
You always
Bob.
bring up the Hoff. It's really straight. You and Rachel Riley and the Hoff. It's like some weird threesome.
Think about Rachel Riley. It's her mathematics.
You started off again.
It's like she does these.
You're in awe of her brain.
Well, they got these really long numbers, and she quickly adds them up, just like that.
You're watching too much daytime TV. That's the place.
No calculator.
I've watched some really good YouTube videos about her maths.
Can I just say one thing before we go? Because I want you to say your thing. I just want to say that it's funny that he said in this thing he's put out that he's quit the academy. He said he will accept any additional consequences. Like, mate, yeah, you will accept
how
it.
nice
because
of you.
I not accept that, and I will keep my Oscar.
That's like having an affair and saying to your wife, "I will accept the consequences."
Yeah.
I welcome the inquiry into why I shagged your best mate. I mean, look. Do you know what I thought was most shocking? Are you ready for my hot take?
Here we go.
Because I'm a
hot take.
I'm a famous contrarian.
Okay. Here we go.
I think that weirdly the worst part of that whole scene at the Oscars was the swearing afterwards, and I'll tell you for why. Obviously, the slap was horrific.
Yeah.
But if he had only walked on stage and slapped him and then sat down, you could nearly call that a stunt.
Okay.
But then what happened is that he sat there and he's like, you were effing this and you were effing that. And there was something so unedifying about this, 80, 90-year-old ceremony where you've had, Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra and Charlie Chaplin.
And they never swore.
They never swore. I mean, Charlie, of course, didn't speak at all, did he? But this venerated institution of the Oscars, the Academy. And he sat there effing and jeffing on live telly. I actually was more offended by the swearing, and that was the moment where I thought this is very damaging.
Yeah, that's the most pathetic take I've ever heard.
Not great, is it? I thought that was like a monologue waiting to happen.
The worst thing I've heard. Well done. Congratulations to you. But I've read some pretty amazingly bad takes on it, and that one is...
It was and you know what? I take the consequences of my bad take.
Let's hear the Dixon bad take.
Take me down, baby.
Firstly, 2 weeks to save his career it reminded me of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, so he's probably got more like 3 years. Am I right?
Good point.
Thank you.
COVID.
But what I want,
he won't forget.
We've already covered this.
Let it go, Nick. Let it go.
We've already covered this on this show, so I won't talk about it too much. But I know Will, obviously. I've worked with him, met his son and his nephew. Great. I liked him. He's a great guy. So I feel bad for Will. What Will needs to do is return to God and get in a very closed, non-open marriage, because it's this open marriage stuff. It's his wife. I don't want to say she's satanic, but,
Nick, was that...
But...
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying the satanic is why she's lost her head?
Well, no, actually, that was too strong.
How much do you think I do?
In hindsight, satanic was a bit strong. But I'm winding it back. But I'm not sure about his wife. And I'm a bit worried about him. Why is he in this open relationship? He's let Hollywood corrupt him, is what I'm trying to suggest. And I think in his heart, he's good if he comes back to the truth, has a very closed, normal marriage. And the other thing I just wanted to say is, there's still people on the internet insisting this was a setup.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that bothers me about that is, it's so damaging for Will that, the only thing I can think of is Joaquin Phoenix when he was being an idiot to Letterman.
Whacking?
Do you remember? Yeah, good one. Do you remember him when he was being really annoying to Letterman? And it was like, why is he doing that? And it turned out to be some rubbish movie.
Yeah.
How good? That's the only thing it could be. But how good would the movie have to be worth destroying Will's career? And then you go, no, actually, we were filming a sort of independent movie, and this is all part of it. That's the only thing I can think. Because otherwise, why would it be a setup?
Yeah, no. But you've seen the diagrams, the arrows.
Yeah. Have you seen the thing on the cheek? The patch on the cheek.
Oh,
the secret patch, which is definitely not Photoshop. Yeah, it's madness.
Yeah.
Too right, it is madness indeed. And of course, that soap opera will continue to play out on our screens. The Metro has more on the transgender cyclist cancelled, Nick, by the cycling authorities.
Oh, yeah. Banned transgender cyclist Emily Bridges claims she has been demonised and she's been blocked from competing in the British National Omnium Championships. And it says that she has hit back at the sports governing body following its decision to prevent her from competing at this weekend's British... They didn't use the... I just put that in.
Did they use your sarcastic tone as well?
No, they didn't. This is quite interesting. She said, despite the public announcement, I still have little clarity around their finding of my ineligibility under the regulations. I'm guessing it's that you used to be a man. That's my guess. I'm not trying to belittle it, but that's the reason, isn't it? Yeah. However, I'm about to give the other side, don't worry, before I get cancelled again. Yeah.
There is not really another side to this.
Well, the only side I've got is that that she was asked to do all these things and was told that it would be okay. She had all the testosterone checks. She did all this stuff. She complied with it. So if you were told, do all this and it'll be fine, then it wasn't, you could be annoyed. Obviously shouldn't be in it at all.
Yeah,
but you know.
Yeah, you're right. The rules, the fact, she followed the rules were wrong.
Yes.
Lowering your testosterone does not in any way equalise the difference of going through male puberty. And that's a fact that has been proved scientifically now.
Josh, when did you become so far right? I don't know.
Well, no, that's it. It's not all the people I know who are gender critical are actually all on the left. Right. And that's been the thing about it. Of course, trans activists, and I'm not talking about trans people, I'm talking about trans activists who are pushing it. They're like, oh my God, J.K. Rowling, everybody's on the right if you dare to sort of say that biological sex is real. No, I just believe in biological sex being binary, and I believe in science. Those are, and now you're allowed to say it, and it's legal, which is ridiculous. It had to be put out in law to be able to say that now. I mean, she says it here. She says, no one should have to choose between being who they are and participating in the sport that they love. She's absolutely right. Participate as a biological man. She has that right. Do that.
We're all getting cancelled.
Some would disagree, but it's all about opinions. Let's stay on the trans debate. The Sunday Times are reporting on changes to trans people's prescriptions, Josh.
More trans?
Yeah.
Got more trans. I've already said my trans piece. I've got no more
By the way,
trans
I keep saying Josh and looking at Nick, and I said Nick when I meant Josh earlier, and you know why? It's because you're like my children.
Oh, I thought you were going to say...
parents get to a certain age and they list all of the names of their children when they call for one children. You've got 5.
Does that mean I can borrow some money from you?
My mum does do that.
You can have some money.
She always gets the name wrong between me and my brother. I'm like, have you not mastered it by now? She gets it wrong almost 100% of the time.
Yes, but then again, you're adopted, so...
Oh, there is that.
It's come out now. This is in the Times. GPs will be paid for trans hormone prescriptions.
You must be well behind this.
In every single, not conspiracy, or everyone always says, follow the money, follow the money. In America, they have a real issue here because in like the UK, for example, it's gone up 9,000%, the referrals of young teenage girls saying they're trans men and stuff. In America, similar numbers and huge amounts of money. These people who are pushing, these doctors, who are pushing this thing of transitioning, so for young women, is all, it turns out they're all being given a huge amount of money by drugs companies who actually
back in the day, doctors were giving you heart medications like statins that you didn't need to make money, or putting stents in there that were not required. Now it's changing.
I mean, I don't want to come across. I know I'm next to Nick. I don't want to come across too conspiracy-ish, but this stuff has been proved, and that's what's happening in America. To see it sort of come here in any kind of limited fashion like this, there is an issue where people who are trans there are long waiting lists to be able to be seen and whatever. But this has not been paired, again, with the mental health stuff, with people seeing therapists. Because just because someone, yes, there are people who are generally trans who believe they're born in the wrong body, but there are also might be underlying health conditions. And this thing of 9,000, going up 9,000% for these young women, the fact is not all of them are genuinely trans. They have fallen into it. It's a social contagion that's happening. Look, there's 35% of them are autistic, which also ties to a previous story. Also, a huge percentage of them, this has all come out because one of the doctors who was working for one of these clinics has come out and is now like a whistleblower and has said all this stuff that hasn't been looked into over the last 10 years. And a huge amount of them also might be suffering from internalized homophobia. And to just be giving people hormones without the therapy, I think is a massive, massive mistake.
Also, is it the NHS's job to help people transition?
Well, this is seemingly what they're saying. They're saying if they're going to be giving like GPs now £178 a year, but this is for adults.
Sorry, 178,000.
No, 100 per client, per adult that they put onto hormones, the GP is going to get £178.
But what about cancer treatment and type 2 diabetes?
Why would you get any money for putting people onto
What's going to be really interesting to see, this is happening in Sussex. They're getting £178 a year for everyone they prescribe cross-sex hormone therapy. Will Sussex suddenly become the home of transgenderism? I mean, it already probably is, Brighton's there, but you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, with these incentives, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
They shouldn't have incentives. Their incentives should be to make people better, not to prescribe a particular outcome.
Well, it's time for the trilogy, the third section of our trans chat.
Okay,
Beautifully put
three
together
men.
By producer Martin's put this together very well. It's the Mail on Sunday. And it's the debate we've all been waiting for. Can we separate the art from the artist?
Yeah, it's not really part of the trans debate. This is Rower's BBC Radio 4 presenter brackets J.K. Rowling alongside sex offenders R. Kelly and Eric Gill and brands her views on gender identity very unpopular. So this was Tom Sutcliffe on the Radio 4 show Front Row. Now, so it was a bit tasteless to link it with Eric Gill. I mean, Eric Gill, if you don't know, he's an incestuous sex offender. There's a statue, paedophile. There's a statue of him outside Broadcasting House at the BBC, which, I mean, you could argue BBC housed sex offenders for years, so for them that's a kind of crest or coat of arms. But that statue probably shouldn't be there. But what they did, they were discussing how do you feel about the artists when they've done terrible things like that. Then they went on to... And I'm actually going to defend the BBC now, because then they went on to talk about J.K. Rowling.
But R. Kelly as well, who, you know, sex traffic. And,
yes, yeah. And they linked it, then they moved
and
on
also did that annoying song, I Believe I Can Fly.
Sorry, and then you mentioned Hitler? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's really complicated. Because what it is, all the internet's saying what this guy... So it was Tom Sutcliffe, and they're saying what he did was tastelessly link J.K. Rowling with this. It was a bit of a crass transition, but the other thing he did, he said that he cited J.K. Rowling as having a clearly very unpopular opinion regarding gender identity, which he admitted later was wrong to say. Her opinion is actually probably popular. It's certainly a valid opinion. So he admitted that on their show Feedback. And he also made it sound like he said that now that she's been categorised as a bigot, what he was actually doing, to be fair to him, there was this guy Eric Hatala Mathers on there who had written a book where he had described it like that. He had taken a sample of American academics who, with sort of wacky views and their take on J.K. Rowling, and the presenter was trying to sort of summarise that. So he later clarified on this Feedback show he wasn't trying to attack Rowling. He was just trying to sort of interview the author, and he wasn't careful enough about how he expressed it. So I'm actually going to defend Sutcliffe, because someone called it Peter Sutcliffe on Twitter, not Peter Sutcliffe, that would be a very different show. But so actually, I don't think he really did try to attack Rowling. He basically, it can happen to all of us on live TV. Or live radio, he clumsily kind of interrogated this guy and made it sound like he was...
Although it strikes me as another sort of mainstream broadcaster, a public figure that throws J.K. Rowling under the bus, it seems to be the fashionable thing to do.
Yeah, and the J.K. Rowling is someone who has classed herself out of being a billionaire by donating so much of her money to good causes. Yeah. And when he says, her very unpopular opinion regarding gender identity, what she is fighting for women's rights. That's all she's doing. She's saying, yes, trans people, live your life, whatever, but there are some areas, women's prisons, women's sports, women's spaces, where these rights come into conflict with each other, and we need to discuss it. And that's not been happening for years. And because she's dared to say that, the death threats, I mean, even today she's posting on Twitter, the death threats she gets, the rape threats she gets, just for standing up and saying, wait a minute, can we have a conversation about where these rights conflict? And
yeah, and I 100% agree with that, and the way Rowling's been treated is terrible. All I'm simply saying is this perhaps wasn't an example of it, because I've listened to both the original show and the show where he apologises when I could have been watching Man United this afternoon, and really all he was... The stupid thing he did, it's a bit of a dumb question. He asked if there's a major philosophical distinction between artists who've committed crimes and those who simply have unpopular opinions. Of course, there's a massive difference. It was a way to just... interview the person, and he should have put it differently. It was.
I get your point, and I actually sent in a complaint to the BBC about this particular show, because, like you say, it was clumsy. And when you're dealing with something like this, and the pile-ons that she gets,
right,
you can't. He shouldn't be clumsy.
Also, I mean, briefly, can we stop saying that J.K. Rowling has views or opinions on biological sex?
Yeah.
These are not views or opinions, are they? Absolutely. I mean, you can just state that there are two biological sexes because that's what we were taught at school, and it's what any encyclopedia will tell you. And I think calling the remarks that she has made views or opinions is a bit like with the Jimmy Carr scandal, going, have you heard Jimmy Carr's comments recently about the Holocaust? No, he was making a joke. She was stating fact. Robert Winston, one of the most respected experts in reproduction in the world, Professor Robert Winston, said on Question Time, I'll get hate mail for this, but there are just two sexes. You can't change your sex. Not only is it your reproductive organs and your testosterone and puberty, every cell in your body.
Your chromosomes. But this is the thing. He says he might get some hate mail. No, I'd be curious to see how much hate mail he got, because she was one of the first people to stand up, certainly at her level, and do it. And that has allowed other people to have this conversation.
But I'm confused because you're a bit girly.
I don't know what you possibly mean. I don't even know where that's coming from. Not there's anything wrong with being a girl or trans or anything.
There's nothing about Josh Howie that is
nothing
fluid.
wrong with anyone.
There's nothing wrong with anybody.
He's fluid as it comes, and we've got more fluidity coming up in the final section of the show. I do love making them feel uncomfortable. That's the fluff out the way. Coming up, the really important stuff. Why having tiny arms is beneficial if you're a ferocious 30-foot-tall carnivore, and why dog whistles aren't very effective on Mars. See you in 2.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls, and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate, and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
I realise my stomach's showing.
There's no chemistry, but just turn it on for the cameras if you can. Okay. Welcome back to Headliners with me, Mark Dolan, and Nick Dixon and Josh Howie, both really good friends. They meet up socially. It seems that
we actually do. We live next to each other. We we bump into each other. We do meet up socially. We share a Sainsbury's.
We go to barbecues and cook-offs.
Of course you do. Do comedians generally get on, by the way? Are they a species that befriend each other?
not with him, but yes, comedians do get on.
As a general rule.
Comedians get on with each other and I'm separate. I'm more of a serious broadcaster now.
You're a thinker.
Thank you.
It seems like there's been a spate of tragic dog attacks lately. Awful thing, of course, these dog attacks. Perhaps the story from the Sunday Telegraph might illuminate why. Nick, tell me about this awful story.
Oh, yeah. Puppies could be more dangerous after lockdown. So the Kennel Club warns socialisation is critical in ensuring dogs do not develop dangerous behaviour after a spate of fatal attacks. I'm starting to think these lockdowns weren't a great idea, Mark.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, everything that's already happened, and now the dogs. It says here, a spate of attacks on children by non-dangerous dog breeds. They don't sound that non-dangerous to me. I'm a layman on this topic, but yeah, it's quite worrying. They've not learned to socialise because of lockdown, and now they're going mental and attacking people. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I didn't like this particular report. I mean, yes, they're right to be highlighting this, the need for socialisation or whatever, but then they sort of go, children need to know when and how to safely interact with dogs. And that winds me up because if you are a dog owner, take care of your dog. All the time. I cannot stand it. My mum's got this dog. It's like, oh, you would never attack anybody. Oh, no, she would never. It's like, then the first thing she goes to my kids. Like, that's what dogs do. They are animals. Stop thinking that your dog is the one dog that would never attack a child. If you've got a child and you've got a dog, keep the dog separate or keep fully aware. It drives me totally mad.
It's like when you see, when you see a muzzle on a dog, you feel a mixture of emotions. You feel like, oh, good, it can't attack me, but it's the kind of dog that will because it's wearing a muzzle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but any dog can attack and harm a child. Any dog.
Okay.
So if you own a dog and there's a child there, watch it. Don't leave the dog with the child and just assume, oh, this dog's never attacked anybody. That's what they do.
Yeah, very, very wise words indeed. How about this now? Happiness buttons, what are they? And do I have one anywhere on my body, Josh?
I will speak to your wife about that particular thing. There might be an internal one somewhere.
I wouldn't ask her because her memory's not that good.
Okay, fine.
I mean,
you probably want to forget that.
We're going back to when Tony Blair was Prime Minister.
Oh, it's been that long, has it? Is that how old your kids are?
Britannia.
Your kids are like, he was out of power, 97.
Cooler Shaker were a band.
Yeah, they were massive.
So this is in the Times. Number 10 has put in happiness machines. You know when you go through passport, airport, and it's like, what do you think of the service? How did we touch your rectum in a calm, nice way, or whatever it is? Yes, happy, whatever. So they put those in at number 10. This is installed by Samantha Jones, who's the new permanent secretary in it. And they're not happy. The people in number 10 working are not happy about it. They think it's patronising. And also, I think
about the happy button. Can they vote on that?
Yeah, can they? Well, but this is the thing is, say that they find out everybody's unhappy. Well, then where do they do? Like, guys, we need to improve morale. You know what we need? A party! Let's get everyone happy.
That would fix it.
That'll get everybody happy.
What do you think about this culture of customer feedback? Because, I can't now get a new tyre on my car or buy a hamburger without being asked for my feedback online later. Sometimes you'll make a call to the electricity company and they'll keep you on the line afterwards saying, please stick around because we've got questions for you. And then you've got to dob in poor old Sandra in the call centre who was a bit rude with you.
Really?
I love
still holding that grudge, are you?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to. You might think that Sandra is some generic example for humour. No, she's called Sandra. She works for Scottish Power.
She's out of line.
And she
was wrong. She did not change your tyre. Or gave you that hamburger you needed.
Like there to be a tribunal. I think she should keep her job, but a demotion.
It's nice to see you using your power in the media.
By the way, is there anything worse than anybody that has a public profile complaining about customer service on Twitter? My personal favourite was Piers Morgan, who I do like, but Piers Morgan was tweeting McDonald's about his bad delivery.
Oh, my gosh.
At that point, the world's gone mad, don't you think?
I'm blocked by him, but it's a pity I'm missing that content.
I'm blocked by McDonald's.
You're not?
No.
I hope not.
But there's also a funny thing. They've also incorporated, to try and make people happy, a portal in the intranet which allows staff to anonymously praise other staff members and whatever. And one of the comments was, Boris Johnson is the best Prime Minister ever, better than Churchill, a vitro cum laude. It was by a B. Jansen.
Oh, yeah, well, that would do it. Do you think that this culture of asking us how our experience was, whether you work at number 10 or if you're just a consumer, is it making service better? Is it improving the quality of our lives?
No, it's to try and pretend that our opinion actually matters.
Right, so is it theatre?
Yeah, absolutely, it's theatre. Of course it is, yeah. Saying that, I'll take a nice retweet on Twitter. That's not theatre. That means a lot.
We'd love your feedback about this programme, so do send it in, mark@gbnews.uk. Warts and all, the good, the bad and the ugly.
No, just please the good. I'm very delicate.
Now, Sunday Times once again, and apparently IQ levels have fallen to the point where we need this kind of public announcement, Nick.
Yep, don't use barbecues to heat home, families told. So Bill Bullen, the boss of Utilita Energy, has told people not to use makeshift open fires for heating, like we're in Demolition Man. I added that last bit. He said, I would urge everyone, no matter how much you're suffering with your energy bills, please not resort to using open barbecues and open fires in your home. So apart from the fire risk, there's apparently a carbon monoxide risk. So I'm gonna take mine down immediately.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it really makes fools of all of us.
Well, I just think he doesn't like the competition.
Yeah. By the way...
He just wants to make that money.
God, there you go, you see. The truth will out. This next article. Actually, let's go to the metaverse. We've got a story about the metaverse. Tell me more.
Okay, yeah. The metaverse is not designed for women. Sounds like something I'd just say, but it's actually the headline. In December, I don't know why I do that to myself. In December 2021, Facebook's parent company Meta launched Horizon World, a virtual reality space where you could play games and socialize with people's virtual avatars if you had no friends. But unfortunately, days after its launch, someone was assaulted. This woman, Nina Jane Patel, says, within 60 seconds of joining, I was verbally and sexually harassed. Male avatars and male voices essentially gang raped my avatar and took photos. Now, other people have come back and said that you can't be assaulted in the metaverse. And one person said avatars don't have lower bodies to assault, which is an interesting argument. And someone else has said, you've obviously never played Fortnite. I'm not sure where that features. So that's the argument.
Get a life, no?
Yeah. That's exactly why I don't let my kids play Fortnite.
Oh, very sensible. Sunday Times now, and it's high time that we stopped body-shaming T-Rex, Nick.
Yeah, this is a brilliant one. T-Rex's tiny arms may have been a lifesaver. So, some theories say T-Rex's short arms were used in mating, which presumably made up for some things he couldn't do. But that's actually a really good joke that you both missed. But now there's a new theory that actually he had such tiny forearms because it kept them out of the way of snapping jaws, so that he couldn't be injured via his arms. So there's an interesting theory here that if several adult Tyrannosaurus were converging on a carcass, this guy said, what if your friend thinks you're getting a little too close? They might warn you by severing your arm. Not sure about this guy's friends, but yeah, the theory is he had short arms so he couldn't be, his limbs couldn't be hacked off, basically.
Which also suggests that there's evidence that we always think of them as sort of solitary because we've all seen Jurassic World or Jurassic Park or whatever, but the idea actually they hunted in herds, which is even more terrifying, which is also kind of cool.
It is slightly. You do wonder what the world is going to face next, don't you? We've had the pandemic, we've had the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Do you think maybe dinosaurs returning could be the next thing?
I think that could save Boris Johnson.
It's true, by the way.
That's the next thing. He's investing in dinosaurs to get.
Maybe he buys a pet dinosaur and installs it in the Downing Street garden.
That's if you even think they were real. I mean, I'm not even sure. They always change it on there. Like the T-Rex had feathers, then it's stuff about its arms. I'm not convinced about it.
Well, yeah, you don't believe in evolution. Do you?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Evolution, what's that? Sunday Telegraph now, and this story sounds like a bad Coldplay song, Josh.
Yeah, so this is a bizarre discovery that life on Mars means that a real conversation is a real conversation killer. What they're basically trying to say is that sound travels differently and higher tones will travel faster on Mars because of the composition of the atmosphere. So a conversation here, someone with a higher tone, let's say a woman.
Rachel
Riley. So she's going...
Mathematics.
5 + 5 is 10. That's going to get...
No, she does harder sums than that.
And
it would be like 807
10 + 10 is 20.
She does equations and stuff.
That's don't make me go to 30.
She's like
that's as high as I get.
I'm talking long division, matrices. Oh, my God. Pythagoras.
10 divided by 5 is 2. The point is, at a higher pitch, and I don't even know if Rachel has a particularly high voice, but at a higher pitch, it will go faster to you. You'll get the information quicker than a man who was just going... Yeah, and it's going to travel slow through the atmosphere. That's interesting. If you're ever on Mars, that might be why you have some communication issues.
The tone of your voice is very important. Margaret Thatcher got elocution lessons to drop the tone of her voice because she was quite squeaky when she started. So do you think that the deeper voices, I mean, they carry well in space, but don't you think people with deeper voices do better in life generally, on Earth?
Yes, I do. Very much.
Listen to you, auditioning for your next voice.
No, well, it's like when I went through puberty and I'd answer the phone.
When was that?
No, it was very late.
Last ad break. It
went very, very late, and I would always, I'd be like, hello, you know, like even though I had
really, what? Pretend.
You
could have been you could have been trans cyclist until you were about.
I was definitely
about 30.
Yeah.
Well, listen, there's nothing I'd change about those two. The brilliant Nick Dixon, the marvellous Josh Howie. Thank you, chaps. Always such a treat. Do return
Did my best.
to the studio when you can. Thanks to my amazing team as well, Martin, Daryl and the gang, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.